Like that, I know the court drawers don't have to be accurate, but if I was Diddy, I would sue for defamation on just that jar. So
Hey,
I know you.
I'm going back. Hey, yo, there's no way I'm going back after a victory of this magnitude. And this is what you leave me with? No, someone's got to pay. Somebody take that, take that, take that. Somebody's got to take
I'm litigious
that.
about this, right? I'd have beat the kid. That can't be my court photo, right?
No. No. Okay, and I know it's a bad look for us to be laughing in the beginning of a Diddy video, but just for what it's worth, how you guys doing? My name is Hero. This is the Identity Booth, and I'm joined by Shay. Clap it. Our goal here is to identify with you as you identify with us. I'm probably gonna call us coding with strangers at some point. Don't take it too serious. Today we're going to be talking about the Diddy verdict, and not necessarily what the verdict means, but what the impact is of it culturally and to the system, and sort of a retrospective of it. But before we dive into that, our lovely host Shay, could you give us sort of the TLDR for someone who was probably hiding under a rock about where we are?
So, if you don't know, Sean P. Diddy Combs was arrested in 2024 on federal prostitution, drug trafficking, arson, RICO sex assault charges, and his trial started with an 8-week trial. They ended up dropping the arson charges, and ended up dropping another charge in the middle of the prosecution. His team. There was 3 main witnesses, two females who named themselves, and one Jane Doe. They testified both for the defense and the prosecution. And Diddy's team basically beat all of the main long-term jail charges. Of the five charges he's looking at, he beat all of them but one. Mm-hmm. And he's probably looking at time served, or he'll be out in like less than 8 months.
Okay, so in the greater idea of everything, there has been a very clear divide, and there's a part of me that wants to talk about something that is happening that I'm not sure we understand, which is how R. Kelly is in prison right now, punching the air, because R. Kelly didn't do nearly half the shit that Diddy did, and Diddy's going to more than likely probably never see the inside of a jail cell. Is that a fair assessment?
So I disagree on he didn't do anywhere near as violent stuff, because R. Kelly stuff started when those women were minors. They just because when they finally got him, some of the women who were with him and testified against him were adults. R. Kelly's vice, and I'm not just trying to say that P. Diddy was better, but R. Kelly liked children, right? Mm. And difference is R. Kelly didn't have the money that P. Diddy had, right? You could see that having the second best lawyer clearly in everybody's lifetime over the last 100 years, right? And Brian Steele. The man is 2 for 2 in beating RICOs in under a year.
You got to put him on the Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore.
100%. It goes on the left. Mm-hmm. It goes Johnny Cochran, Brian Steele, and then insert 2 others. I can't think of 2 others off the top of my head, but those 2 straight up. Those are 2 Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famers, right? Like that's your Michael Jordan and Johnny Cochran, and you can put up Brian Steele as LeBron. Pick your poison. What you like, it's argued till your mom comes home.
Facts.
So.
And I think you're right. It's probably, I don't know if their crimes are, you can't equivocate them. I think the thing that makes me say that Diddy was worse off is just because there was so much more. I think Diddy had just this. He said whether he was found guilty of it or not, the man blew up a car with the intentions of ending someone's life. Like, there's just so much more actual proof of what Diddy was about and what Diddy got into.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You feel me?
It feels like there was so much more evidence in the Diddy thing than even R. Kelly.
And
It seemed like this
R.
should have
Kelly at
been
some
a
point
turned up case.
was beating the charges, because the witnesses weren't cooperating, and they still found a way to get him. But like ultimately, I think like
Twice, by the way. He beat the first case.
Yeah.
He beat the first case to the
Yeah.
witness, and then he nearly beat the second one because of witness tampering.
Oh shit! I damn near the Boondocks almost
Alleged,
left free.
alleged. Sorry, alleged.
But the thing that I think that I always want to like return back to here is like how from that time, space and time, from bump and grind, I'm locked in the closet, to take that, and literally this man's wife. So like we've regressed, right? We're showing a regression in what is acceptable. And I think one of the things that makes it apparent to me is that the common person thinks Diddy being free is acceptable. Because I was at the airport, and it was an interracial couple, and Sheikh, I'm gonna let you decide who was white and black. And the man in the conversation was like, I just wanted to be told, if you live in a castle and your name ain't Rapunzel, you can climb down the castle anytime you want. That was literally the reason he gave for why Cassie should not have been found, why Cassie wasn't really being prostituted. He paid for a mansion, he paid for her cars, and it's just like, all right, cool. And I was thinking like the woman's response would be like candid, and she was like, and literally her answer said something that was so repulsive. I wish someone would beat me up for that type of money. I wish someone. They had 3 kids with them, by the way. And I have to explain to people, like, you know, like how we get that situation where it's like we always focused on white Republican men. And the truth of the matter is there's white Republican women that vote for them too, that sleep next to them too, that eat dinner with them, that make food for them. Like, you have to be focused on them. You have to focus on them too. This is the same situation. There's a group of women who are sort of like the reverse pygmies of this R. Kelly situation, and see Cassie as a Jezebel. And they're like, I want to prove my distinction, so I have to demonize her as well. Anyone who's talking that logic, talking that mind swap, they're lost in the sauce. Don't engage the conversation. You'll lose, and he won't lose because you're not right. You'll lose because they literally had no reason. They never wanted to win.
So I'm not trying to relitigate the case, and I saw something in chat. Someone said, and we kind of touched on the mountain of evidence. The problem with this case is because the women were full-blown adults and it lasted for so long, and there was evidence of them initiating so much of it.
I don't.
The action. So 2 things can be true. And this is what his team was able to prove, right? Because there was no evidence come out. Even though we know he blew up Kid Cudi's car, right? Everybody under the sun knows it. You have to prove that he called the hit, that he did it. There's no proof of doing it, even though circumstantially, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Even the thing and it's the assault on Cassie, like the physical assault video, that charge that was dropped. That is what's surprising, right? Why did they think they couldn't get that charge? There's a straight up video of that. I understand why he beat the RICO, and it's because you can't say that I, as my business, did this if everybody around me is also willingly participating this at some point, and especially if you're using emotional words to it. And this should be a warning to all women in very abusive domestic situations, right? Now, you trying to just protect yourself and the lifestyle you have in the short term, it's not going to protect you the same way as it used to in the long term, right? You might not be able to just claim, I did this over 6, 7, 8, 10 years in distress. At some point, clearly, this was the people, because the jury said, and the jury of your peers, men and women, who said, no, at a certain point, yes, it might have started under duress, but you became a willing participant in this.
But I feel
Mm-hmm. Last thing I'm gonna say is
Finish,
you might be
finish.
getting, you might you might not be prosecuted for your actions in this, right? But your actions in this might not send somebody else to jail, because if we're saying your action, you did all this under duress, well, they presented evidence to me that shows maybe this wasn't under duress. What kind of killed, and especially in the court of public opinion, when his defense team was able to pull up verified evidence of, oh, now your now current husband, after you broke up, you FaceTime your husband while in having relationship with the defendant. I understand that you're technically, she wasn't the one on trial as the victim, and her sex life is not on trial. But by the letter of the law, it's not. But human beings, right? Emotionally, it's hard to believe. Like, what do you mean you're the victim, but after you broke up, right? You still came back, slept with this man, right? Clearly consensually, and FaceTimed your now current husband. Like, it muddies the waters, and that's the thing. It clearly
So
they they were able to show that these women's actions muddied the waters enough that we're like, you know what? This is not, you can't prosecute someone for being literally just freak nasty. That's what they were able to prove. You can't prosecute me for being a freak. You can't prosecute. It's 2025. So what if he's a black man who likes playing another man's like basically, right? That's not criminal, right? You can't prosecute his private life, and they were able to prove you're trying to prosecute my private life. Once they dropped the charges of the assault, it was like, oh, this is not this is how he gets away. That's where they dropped the assault and the drug trafficking. So
The part that I think I'm concerned with is the court of law doesn't understand or shouldn't be able to dictate victimhood's trauma span, right? Because a victim returning back to their assaulter is a trauma response. A victim relying or feeling like Stockholm syndrome is literally a word. So like there's very much a part of me that feels like this president has deflected something, and it also layers on to something that we already know it ahead of time, which is the court system wasn't designed to protect black women. So it's no joke that it's no problem here that it's failed it now. But the simple fact that they equivocated consent from a trauma response is diabolical. It's diabolical, and you're right. To the letter of the law, they should be able to discern that, but that's not how public opinion is going to regard Cassie in the future and in the days and months to come. The fact that she still hasn't received, from what I could see while she was testifying, closure or any type of psychological recourse for the damage that's already been done doesn't make it. Just because you don't like how it's done doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. And I think that's the part that is disappointing, is that now you don't, not only are you going to have a difficult time telling your story so you can protect yourself, you have to now understand that your story will be judged based on how society views you. And if society views you as not worth protecting, no matter how traumatizing your story is, you could literally be messed with by a diddler, and they will find ways to put hands on you.
The problem is, it wasn't society; it was the state. It was the government that said, "We're dropping your assault charge." The assault charge, the one that's on video, it's the government that drops that, right? Mm-hmm. They dropped that charge, so it wasn't even us. So we can't, even though, yes, we know for a fact he beat the brakes off of her. We've seen the video, we've seen the short clip, and I've seen the 15-minute clip. It happened. Period, point blank. He's not charged with that. Mm-hmm. So we can morally put him in jail for that, 100%. And the reality is, in a jury's mind, and you're right, the icon said you're not going to get a jury of victims of sex traffickers. The problem with that is then the potential the defendant does not get a fair trial, because if you have a jury full of victims of sex trafficking, what if this person the defendant did not actually sex traffic this person? You have a completely tainted, biased jury against somebody. Like, I get your theory, Icon. Like, that's very bleeding heart liberal thought process of, oh well, the victim did not get a jury of it.
Leave the liberals out of this. This is
right? No, but then, like, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Like, very bleeding heart, like, oh, this is how we fix it. And it's like, no, that makes the situation worse, right? That fundamentally makes the situation worse.
Yeah.
All
right.
And the last thing I'm gonna say is, when you have multiple people over multiple years, right, who are doing this, they were able to prove, because they have the money, because he had the money, that just because you have a mental illness, whether it's PTSD, you can still be held liable for part of your actions, right? Whether criminal or and that's how, and it's something how I felt for a while. I've hated this, I always knew, okay, years ago, like 20 years ago, we didn't care about mental health whatsoever, right? But human beings do this thing where they naturally just automatically swing to the pendulum. And then we started caring about mental health too much. And everybody had a mental health issue without actually fixing the terrible action. This is not a fix, but what it's saying is, just because, yes, you have PTSD, no one's saying that she does not have PTSD, she was not a victim and stuff, your actions still have consequences. And the consequences of your actions is this person is not going to jail for anywhere as long as you thought they were, because you chose to engage in certain of these actions. Like, now Cassie's being sued by the male escorts in civil court for allegedly giving them STD. So she's now on trial just the same.
Yeah, ultimately the biggest L should be it's not Cassie, it's the state. The state fucked this up because at some point the prosecution realized, the defense realized, oh shit, they trying to make us look like bad guys. We're okay with being bad guys. We don't care about none of that. So I think the state failed Cassie, and by extension failed victims moving forward for a millennia. We're backtracking. So like we can go back and forth here.
And his defense team leaned into the fact that, yes, my client's a freak, and that's not punishable.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah.
And guess what? All the people with me as a man exploring my sexuality with these beautiful women, they were able to, in a sense, put that narrative out there where, how does all the crazy stories of what was happening to him while also in the room not make him, he came out still somehow the best, like of all of it, because they ended up, for lack of a better term, sinking into his freak nasty, and that was his saving grace, is sinking into the fact that at the end of the day, he's a pervert. He's a pervert.
His degeneracy saved him. His degeneracy saved him, which is actually crazy.
It saved him out of the worst part of jail. And he was able to prove it. I'm not the only degenerate. She's a degenerate, because he was able to prove Cassie has a 10-year span of degeneracy with me. And then after we left, still level degeneracy. One of your star witnesses off camera says she still loves me. So she's a degenerate. On camera, on the stand, says I'm still in love with him. Yes, he's still paying my house. Your witnesses is blown out the water. Like, this is too back. Like, last thing, how does this state, two different states, back to back lose RICO cases to the same man? Like, forget what he did. If you're a prosecutor, you see that man walking there, you start asking for a plea deal.
Plead it out.
Right?
Plead it out, baby.
Like, a misdemeanor, be like, you could be caught with a switch on the White House, right? And if you see him walk through, right?
Plead it out.
You switch. Like, nah.
I
That's all
respect
I
it.
really got to say on this topic.
No, I appreciate it. This is a little bit just a roundabout way, but I know stretch of imagination is this the end all be all for this. We'll keep a close eye on this, but for what it's worth, I very much fear for what victims will have to go through moving forward. But that's everything between the time and space we have. This is the Identity Booth where we try to identify with you as you identify with us. That is Shake. My name is Hero. I'll catch you guys on the other side.